Hello, how are you? My name is Sam Taris. Is our normal. Today we are going to discuss about the new topic which known as work. On this topic we'll discuss about the 3 key issues which concern on this topic as written on the blackboard. So on this topic, the first issue which we are going to discuss is the meaning of the work. After looking the definition of the work, we are discussing or will go directly to the types of the work, and thereafter we will finalize the importance of studying or the importance of the work. That's why I think most of you they heard the word work, so I think most of you are familiar with this terminology or with this term which is a work. So today we are going to discuss about the meaning of the work, types of the works, types of the work, and the importance of the work. So let us go directly to the meaning of the work. And before we start about the meaning of the work, you have to ask yourself. That's why, what is the work? That's why there are a lot of people who speak about it. So just try yourself to define the term work. And I think if you can get about it, we may proceed with our presentation. So, work is any lawful activity that a person does to earn a living. When we speak about the work, is any lawful activity that a person does so as to survive in the life, so as to fulfill his or her demands in his or her daily life, so as to make him or her to be someone who does not suffer with any challenges concerning of those issues which make him or her to be engaged at a given work. So here in this definition we have to be very careful about lawful activity. That's why there are some people who are trying to define the term work as any activity. When you speak about it, and I can say they are so wrong, that's why they define the term work as any activity that enable a person to get anything, or to get earnings, or to get earning for his or her living. So they are wrong. That's why they define the term work as any activity. So the point which I would like to correct them who are defining the term work in that manner, they must use the word lawful. When we speak about lawful, it simply means that activity which you are doing, it is accepted by the society. That activity which you are doing, it is normally accepted by everyone. And it is not a criminal activity. It is not a criminal work. So it should be very known by our law. That's why in every country or in every place there are several laws or laws, and among others that guide them to be or to live in a safe way that will make which will not make anybody to be engaged in any activity that will make him or her into sufferings. So in this definition is any lawful activity Lawful activity simply means that it is accepted by the law according to the certain society or according to the certain country that a person does. It simply means that work which somebody does to earn a living. That's why those issues which help his or her living come from direct to the work which somebody does. So that is a first definition of the work. And the second definition of the work is that is the use of physical strength and mental skills in working things or providing services. So on this definition tries to give us how these types of the work has been categorized into two distinctive categories. So there is physical work. So any work that somebody needs physical ability, or any activity that somebody involves his or her physical ability, and any activity that someone involves his mental skills in making things or providing service. So here there are some works which people produce things or services, things or goods or commodities, and there are other activities or works which people produce services. So if there are a lot of activities or works which people do so as to get either services or commodities, so that is a work according to the second definition, as I was trying to give you more clarification about it. So example of works are fishing, farming, carpentry, trading, teaching, and among others. So these are the several works which involves both physical abilities and mental abilities according to the second definition of the work. Also, after discussing about these two definitions of work, let us go to the third definition as I prepared to you about the term work as is any activity which involves mental or physical effort done so as to achieve a certain purpose or results. So here it is not quite different about the second definition of work. That's why this definition tries to emphasize about mental and the physical efforts. So if you are doing any activity that involves physical or mental efforts, it is a work, so as to achieve a certain purpose or result. So we have a lot of activities or a lot of works which people normally do, and those activities help them after doing a certain kind of work. There are purpose which has been targeted by the all people who are being engaged on that activity or on that work. Also, there are some works which people, after doing that, there are final result. There are several consequences which can come after being finalizing or finishing a certain work. So that is a little bit explanation about the third definition of a work. Also, there is people work to produce goods or service. So these are two important issues which you have to be very careful, or which you have more consideration about it. That's why we are doing the work so as to produce services. There are other works which we do so as to produce goods or commodities. And a good example of it, just try to ask yourself, what are the works which normally people do so as to produce several goods? And also you have to ask another question, that what are the works which make people to produce services? So these are two issues which you have to be very careful, which needs you to be very careful, or to take it into the consideration about the meaning of the work. That's why there are some works which we do so as to produce goods, and there are some works which we do so as to produce services. And a good example of it, if you can go, or if you may go at the hospital, that is a work which people, or certain people who have been specialized on that field do. And those services, or all activities which are being practiced at the given area produce services. And if you can move where you are, and you may go at the market, you will meet with a lot of people who are selling a lot of goods, or a lot of commodities. So that is another work which involves selling of several goods. So you have to be very attentive about these two issues, which I tried as much as I can to give you more clarification, so as to differentiate or to distinguish these issues about the term work. After looking the meaning of the work, so let us go to the types of the work. When we speak about the work, there are some people who do differ according how can we categorize these several of the work. There are some people who tried as much as they can to distinguish or to categorize, but I selected this perspective to define the work as there are only two types of the work. There are only two types of the work. That's why if we may use other perspectives which has been used by other people according to their criteria or conditions which they used, so we will not concentrate much on that. So we'll look only about these two types of the work according the people being engaged on that activities. So there are only two types of the work, which are physical work and the mental work. So these are the two types of the work as I wrote on this. There are only two types of the work, which are physical work and the mental work. And when we speak about physical work, it simply means it involves a physical ability to produce services or goods. So this kind of the work involves ability, physical ability. And when we speak about physical ability, it simply means that we will use our organs of the body as a means of being engaging on that work. So we may use our hands or our weight, and among others. And a good example of it, like farming, we know people takes a lot of goods. Tools like a panga, exam, and among others. So there are a lot of them. There are several tools which can be used when people do engage on that type of the work. So the point which you have to be or to take note on this type of the work is that this kind of the work involves physical ability. Physical ability. So that is the first type of the work. And second type of the work is mental work. Mental work, it involves a mental ability or strength to produce either goods or services. So we use our mental ability. And a mental ability, most of these works, there are some people who specialize in it, who pass these certain levels of the education so as to be as the specialist is according to the certain professionals or professionalism. And a good example of it, like banking, health centers. So you can't be an accountant without you go to the school so as to specialize according to the accountants. Also, you cannot be a doctor. You cannot treat diseases of the human being without being specialized on that field. Also, so these are two examples which I tried. Even a teacher, I'm a teacher. So I didn't start to be a teacher without to go at the school. That's why those knowledges which I used to teach you, I went at the school, and those knowledge which I accumulated from the school, I'm using now to teach you. That's why I went at the school. So you may see how these two types of the work can be distinguished. I think you have got me alike about these two types of the work. So after discussing these two types of the work, let us discuss or see importance of the work. And we know if we are doing a work, there are several advantages which you may get. There are several benefits which you may be or which we may be benefited soon after being engaged at the given work. That's why, before discussing about this importance of the work, you have to ask yourself, just assume if you are at the home, or take an example at your family or your background of your family, what or how many of the people in your family are being engaged at the several activities? So after being engaged, never mind those activities which are being engaged by them. It is either physical work or mental work. What are the advantages of the work? If you are a child of a certain family and your father works at home every day, he or she may come with a lot of gifts, a lot of presents to his or her, to his children. So after presenting those gifts which prepared on his daughters or sons or among others, so you may see my father works at a certain place. So when he works on that, when she gets money, enable him to buy a certain gift so as to bring us at the home. So without being engaged on that work, maybe our father fails to give us this kind of the gift. So that is the importance of being engaged in the work. So if you can ask several questions like that, you may predict or you may start yourself to provide us several importances of the work. So let us go directly to the importance of the work. And the first one is, it helps us to get basic needs. Yes. One among the importance of the work is help us to get our basic needs. And when I speak about basic needs, I mean there are only three. These are the three basic needs of any human being: food, shelter, and the clothes. So these are the three basic needs of human being. So when you are being engaged in several activities or in several works help us to get money so as to buy food, so as to buy shelter, or so as to buy clothes. Even those issues are so important, are the basic needs to anybody. So when you are being engaged on the work, we can be benefited through buying those 3 basic needs that can be resulted soon after being engaged on the certain work. So that is the first importance of the work. So, and the second one is work keeps people busy. Yes, work keeps people busy. We know if we are not being engaged on a certain work or in any work, you will give or you will be very tired. That's why there is any activity, and there are a lot of youth in nowadays who are so complaining about they do not being employed. So they have a lot of qualifications, or they have completed from different levels of the education, but they not being employed. So employment opportunities, it is very problem to them. It is very big challenge to them. So they know, that's why they are jobless. There is no any work which can help them to be or to keep them busy. So if someone can be engaged on a certain work, he or she will not be free. He or she will be busy in all activities of conducting a work. So when you are being engaged in several works, it helps us to be so busy. And when you will be busy, it will help us also to avoid from criminal activities. That's why those people who are being engaged in criminal activities, it is a result of where they failed to be or to get a certain work, or they are jobless. So when you are being engaged on the work, it is very advantageous to us. That's why it keeps us so busy, and we fail to get a time to be engaged in other criminal activities that can harm our life. That is the second importance of the work. And the third one is it improves the economic status or positioning of the family or a nation. And here, let me give you an example. Most of African nations, there are some nations which are so considered to be very higher compared to other nations. And the main criteria which categorize these nations to be different groups. That's why there are some which are so higher and the others which are so low. That's why due to the economic position. So I gave you that example at the national level. But in the family also, or as well, if in any family there is somebody who are being engaged or who has a certain work, it can be considered as this family is so economic good. It is so good economically. Due to what? Due to the work which some of the people which are being related on that family, they have certain work which help themselves or in several families to be considered as they are so good in economically. So this is another importance of the work. So we cannot build our economic position without being engaged on the work. That's why those works which we normally do are the sources of building or improving or developing our economic position. And another importance of the work is it brings respect to the people. And a good example of this, just try to assume, just try this concept and trace back on your society. There are some people who are so respected. There are some people who are so respected in your society, in your family, or in your country. That's why they have the certain work. So the position of the work which they have places them or make them to be so respected ones due to the work which they have. So if you can be engaged on a certain work, you can be respected. So if you want to be respected, you have to be you are supposed to find out a good job or a good work so as to be respected. That's why in our society there are some people who are so respected due to the work which they do. Another importance of work is it makes people innovative. It makes the people innovative. We know in our society there are several problems which occur. There are a lot of diseases like COVID-19, HIV and AIDS, and among others. So when people engage on the work, when people do engage on the work, they use a lot of time to find out solutions of those problems which has been occurred. And a good example of it, you may see there is certain disease which has been occurred, and there are scientists who are being engaged in laboratory and make a lot of investigations. So after the few days, they can come up with solutions about a certain problem which has been occurred. So those activities which are being engaged by themselves and they come out with solutions of several problems which has been occurred in our society, those activities are their work. So due to that, also work makes people being innovative ones. They are innovating a lot of solutions about the problems which normally occur in our society. So, and the last one is, it is an identity in the family or a nation. Also, another importance of the work is that if you are a teacher, as me, I'm a teacher. If I'm a teacher, when I pass on the street and I meet with several people, they call me teacher. So I can be identified in our society due to the work which I do. And even other people who do or who are being engaged in several other works. If you are being engaged in accountants, you will be identified as an accountant. If you are being engaging of being treating people about a lot of problems, you will be named or identified as a doctor, and among others. So if you can be someone who are being engaged in cultivating of crops and the keeping of animals, you will be identified or named as an agriculturalist. So that is another importance of the work. And those identities which can be occurred, it can be occurred at the family level or at the society level. So even in the world, there are some people who are being named or identified as traders or as international traders, and among others. So these are the several importances which we may get soon after being engaged in several ways. or after looking the importance of the work. So that is an end of this topic, and I want to remind you, maybe I didn't say on the earlier period about this topic. This is one among the topic which are supposed to start if you are a learner or student of Form 1, kidato cha kwanza. So there are 3 questions which you have to do, or which you are supposed to do if you have followed me where we started in this period. I think if you understood me very well or alike, I think these questions will be very easy to you. So it is very easy to you. You can tackle these 3 questions and you can know and you can answer very good. So the first question, you have to define the term work. So you have to define the term work as I wrote on the board. What is work? And the second question is mention 5 examples of each type of a work as we discussed. I think I want to remind you, we discussed 2 types of the work, which are mental work and the physical work. So this question demands you to provide 5 examples of physical work and 5 examples of physical work and 5 examples of mental work. So you have to provide these. So it will be 10 examples, but 3 of these 10 will be 5 of these 10 will be physical work examples, and the other 5 remaining will be on another type of the work. And the last question is list down 5 importances of studying a work. So what are the advantages which we may get where we can be engaged on a certain work? So thank you for listening to me. I warmly welcome you on another session. Thank you.